The entrepreneurial journey, it continues. And today we're talking about time management, but guys, stick with me. It's so much more than time management. We know how valuable time is, but how we approach it, the systems we put in place, how we manage what we allow into our lives, things we're doing in our organization, and how we approach time is going to influence our journey as entrepreneurs, how successful we are, and the organizations that we're building. And today I have a great guest, a great friend, mentor, Ben Glass, co-author of No B.S. Time Management for Entrepreneurs. And you're going to want to hear what Ben has to say. I'm excited for this conversation. And for everyone watching, Ben Glass, the book's coming out in August, No B.S. Time Management. But guys, I've had so many valuable lessons over the years in working with Ben, his coaching groups, getting Ben's advice. And there's something special here between Ben's story about his family, what he's done as an entrepreneur, and the advice he's going to share with us today.
It's great to catch up with you a little bit pre going live, and because it's been a number of years, Charles. But I was just saying before, so everybody knows, like, I've watched your growth from back really before you had some of these ideas, and with a relatively small team, you've built out a tremendous force that competes not only with big law, but with all these non-lawyers who are in your space. And so really proud of you. I enjoyed our time together, a couple of years that you were in our mastermind groups together. And now here we are catching up. So we'll let people listen in as you and I catch up a bit.
Yeah, Ben. So, I mean, there's so much here. And I wish, over the years as we work together, as an entrepreneur, you always have the mindset of, I'm just going to do all these things. I want to do everything. And I was a victim of that and probably still am in certain ways. But it just reflects a lack of dealing with time in the right way and how you approach your business. I mean, Ben, if you share some of your history and background, your family, your businesses you're running, but the most important takeaways for how entrepreneurs should be approaching all of this.
So for folks who don't know me, I just crossed over 40 years of practice. I've had a very traditional start, worked for another firm for about 12 years, started my own firm in large part because I was coaching 3 soccer teams and I didn't need that long a commute. So that was the most brilliant reason in the world for starting a law firm. Did well at the beginning, then struggled as the cases ran out. Found out I really didn't know much about business, marketing, systems, people, that sort of stuff. I found our mutual friend, Dan Kennedy, entered his world where he was coaching entrepreneurs and saying to people, look, you have value to the world. Let me show you how to market better. That was the first thing I learned. Got really good at that. Created a second business, Great Legal Marketing, which we, in the beginning, Charles, it was teaching personal injury lawyers how to advertise. So just to date myself, this was Yellow Page, like how to make a better Yellow Page ad. And then we started to attract lawyers across practice areas. And then over the years, that has morphed into, from marketing, there's a problem we can help solve. How do you get and convert leads, right? And to really managing and building a company, a firm that you could go and sell. And so today at our highest level mastermind groups, many of the discussions are about succession planning, sale, systems, people. Yes, we still talk marketing, and it's a very competitive landscape. No matter what business you are in, and all of your clients are in a variety of businesses, the digital marketing and advertising landscape only gets more complicated every day. I am the father of 9. I'm married 43 years. 4 of my kiddos are adopted from China. My youngest is 24 now, but I still have 3 at home. I am also known for, I've crossed over 50 years, Charles, of soccer refereeing. So I still referee at a pretty high youth level and do high school work. And I'm a CrossFit athlete. All that was kind of interrupted earlier this year. I had triple bypass surgery, and I've now documented the fastest recovery for a 66-year-old who back to CrossFit and refereeing in the history of man. And I've got it documented. And if you know anybody who's also 66 who does CrossFit and soccer refereeing who wants to challenge me, well, I'll look at their journal and we'll compare and see who's the best. But I'm claiming the world record in that. So, mainly when we talk about time, I'm blessed. I get most of the stuff that I do in my day, if you follow me around, I actually like doing and I'm pretty good at. And I've managed to eliminate from my personal life things and people that I either don't like doing, aren't good at, or if they're people don't like hanging out with.
Ben, like, as a business owner, you get lost in time, right? You get lost in what you're doing. You think, but what's interesting to me is I reflect backwards and I think about the journey. It wasn't sure, maybe I didn't have the right relationship with time or discipline on how I'm going to manage it, but it also influences how you build an organization, right? I know in the book you're talking about things about valuing time, talk about the concept of firing yourself and techniques that entrepreneurs should be introducing. And to me, these are not only time management, but it's really about just good business building, right? And strategic planning.
And even a step above that, I mean, let's look at this from a meta standpoint, Charles, is everybody who's listening to this has a very unique combination of gifts and interests and desires and skill set. They're good at something. And I believe that what we are born to do is to take that unique combination and do really well at those things and put energy into the world, because the things that I'm not good at or don't like doing, there are things that someone else will like doing. So particularly in the space that you occupy, really important work, because you're helping entrepreneurs with ideas. It's not just about creating a business and creating a franchise and selling a product or a service. We know it's much greater than that. They're influencing the energy of the world. They really are. Entrepreneurs hold up the world on their shoulders. They work very hard. So I want people who are listening to this to just accept for a moment, like, the value that you bring to the world. If your thinking on that is correct, right? You're right-minded about you are important and you actually change the world. Then you start to think, all right, so it's okay for me to be ruthless with managing my time, with protecting my time, because people are trying to steal, people and things, cell phones, social media, stuff like that, are trying to steal it. And they're trying to defeat me in my job, which is put really positive energy of my gifts into the world. So start there at a very meta level. In large part, that's what I added. So this is the fourth edition of the book. Dan Kennedy knows that the first edition, it changed my life, because I saw tactics and strategies in that first edition, probably almost 20 years ago, that changed my life. But Dan knows that I also have a different life than he does. Like, I have 9 kids running around, 7 grandkids, 2 businesses. I have a lot of employees. Dan never really liked to have employees. And so that's the perspective I bring to the book. And the book is filled with this kind of meta thinking, as you suggested. What is your value, first of all? And accepting that you have this high value for the world, all the way down to strategies like, no unplanned inbound phone calls. But entrepreneurs need to know that they are special, and the world is hoping and wishing that you as an entrepreneur are guarding your time with your life, because you are so important to driving the economy of America.
So sometimes, Ben, I wish I reached this stage mentally many years ago, but I'll be immersed in doing things that I feel like are going to help our organization, our team, our staff. And many times it does come off if I'm taken out of that lane where I feel like I'm producing, because as an entrepreneur, and our clients and our subscribers and community, they're all business builders, whether service-based businesses, retail businesses, professional services, and they've created something good, right? They've created good. They want to get to that next level, or their franchise system. And now not only are they responsible for their customers and their employees, but now it's all their franchisees, people that are going to, invest their livelihood, their children's future education, the relationship with their spouse to a franchise system. And so what, for those business owners, whether they're at the beginning of the journey or, they've reached a good level, what are the foundational principles they should be focused on?
Well, first is really valuing your time and recognizing at our mutual friend, Dan Sullivan, strategic coach, like recognizing that you serve the world best when you work in your zone of genius. So Charles, while it may be interesting to you and to me to go explore some new software and to go do a deep dive into learning some new project management thing, right? Because we are tinkerers, right? That's not where our zone of genius is. Like for you and I and people like us, it's about coming up with ideas and really taking our businesses into places where most of our competitors don't even know exist. So if you just take legal, like I coach and teach lawyers how to differentiate themselves. I mean, lawyers are viewed as commodities, right, to most of the public, even though we think we're very special and very smart, people should pay attention to us. They don't, right? So we're almost viewed the same as a plumber. I need a lawyer. Let's go on Google and look for something, somebody near me. And so realizing that you can't be thinking about your business, about how do I make my business unique, special, appear different, if you're fooling with learning how to do QuickBooks online or something. That's not where you should play. So it's a fundamental principle that not only you should be working in your zone of genius, but that's where the world really needs you to work. And what I want entrepreneurs to believe is that you are special, right? You are special, and the world will not run without you. So I think you start there. The next sort of major principle is, we call it like just being ruthless with our time management. And if you use that word in common discussion, it's like mean, like someone who's ruthless is mean. And that's not what we're talking about at all. We're talking about is like paying attention, knowing how much your time is worth, knowing today, if I followed you around, Charles, with a legal pad and wrote down every 15 minutes what I watched you doing, would you be proud of the report I gave you? Or would you be like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine how much time I've just wasted? So that's paying attention to how you spend your day. Now, third one is, you talked about discipline. And both Dan Kennedy, my co-author, and I will tell you that we are not very disciplined people. That may sound surprising. We're not disciplined people. What we're good at is building structures that don't allow us to get outside the lane, right? So for example, ever since I read the first edition of the book, I've not taken a single unplanned inbound phone call. Everything is by appointment. Everything is, people do not have open access to Ben. It's actually a benefit to the caller that we have that rule, because my clients know that when they do come to a scheduled appointment phone call with me, I am ready. I already know the questions they're going to ask. My team has assembled the documents that help me understand the question and the answers, and I already know the answer. So you and I are going to have an efficient call. And by the way, Charles, if I'm working on your case, I'm not interrupting my deep work on your case every time the phone rings. So I don't have voicemail on my phone. My phone in my office, I'm pointing to it, doesn't ring or ding. My cell phone doesn't vibrate, ring, ding, chime, or anything. In fact, I don't even have office email on my phone, on my cell phone. And you know what? Nobody dies. Nothing bad happens just because I don't access office email over the weekend. So there's kind of foundational things. It doesn't take a high discipline person, but what it takes is you're thinking about this problem, wanting to solve the problem so that you can be good for the world, for your employees, and for your customers. And by the way, I think the order is this: it's got to be good for Ben, got to be good for my team. If it's good for me and good for my team, then my clients will be well served. So that's kind of the order in which I think of things. And then we pick those strategies and tactics from the book that will help get us here. But it begins, like so much of what I talk about over the years, it begins with a mindset that I'm valuable to the world, and this is how I stay valuable.
Right. And then that mindset, because I find it with myself, and again, it comes off as selfish, but I get obsessed. Like if I'm off track, I'm going to take the whole team off track. And then I guess the challenge as an entrepreneur is to have that mindset, allow yourself, right? It's true. And have confidence in it, and then act accordingly. And I think, I guess the greatest fear or mistake that so many small business owners, entrepreneurs make is then we don't build the infrastructure to allow that to happen.
Yes, and why don't we? So hold that thought for a second, because I love the word selfish. So it's a
Right.
misused word. Like selfish means I took something I didn't deserve. I went and grabbed out of your pocket your dollars. I took your car. That's selfish. That's stealing. When you think about yourself and put yourself first because you are the prime mover, that's the way it's supposed to be. I'm sure you've been influenced by Ayn Rand and Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged as I have. Like, that's the proper understanding of selfish. Now, remind me, the thought that I just planted and told you to hold was, building, yes, building infrastructure. It takes time to do this. See, so the problem with so many business owners, as you know, is we work. We go. We just kind of react all day to things, and we never carve out for ourselves deep thinking time. So one of the exercises that we talk about in the book, we believe you have to do, is you have to put big rocks in your calendar. One of the big rocks is just pure thinking time. Again, I'm a pen and paper guy largely when I'm thinking. And most entrepreneurs can say, why, Ben, Charles, I don't have any room in my calendar. Well, you might not have room today, but if you go out 3, 4, 5, 6 months, there's going to be some day that's open, right? Go and block it. This is the time I'm going to take the No BS Time Management book, and I'm going to do some deep thinking about this. Most of us don't give ourselves permission because we do think it's selfish. My team is working hard. If I'm in my office, I got my feet up on the table and I'm reading and studying and thinking, I'm not actually producing, let's just say, a billable hour or working on a client's personal injury case. Like, there's something called like founder's guilt, which is like, I'm not working as hard as everyone else around me. And I stood up once in a mastermind group I was a part of and talked about this, and they pummeled me. They go, you've got this all wrong. Like, this is exactly what you should be doing. Like, your zone of genius is learning, getting new ideas and implementing them. So that's why we have to shift the way we think about this. I'll talk briefly about one of the strategies in the book that I think would be helpful to your team. Is I don't work with a to-do list. Traditional time management books and traditional time management thinking is you develop a to-do list, you prioritize the things you need to get done, the things that don't get done today get carried over to the next day, blah, blah, blah. When I have things that I need to do, they go very temporarily on a pad or in my journal, but they have to be transferred. If it's something that I'm responsible for doing, it has to be transferred to the calendar as soon as I can. What does this do? Well, number one, it takes it out of your brain. If it's planted on the calendar, now I'm no longer worried, when am I going to find time to do this? I've already assigned time to do this. More importantly, though, Charles, what most of us will find out is they don't have room to plant all the things they want to do on their calendar, right? The calendar is finite. 40 hours a week, 80 hours a week, whatever it is, it's finite. And so when you engage in this exercise of, I'm not keeping a to-do list, but I'm moving my ideas as soon as I can onto the calendar, things I'm going to do, you find out there ain't enough room for all of it. So now it really forces you to think about prioritizing. And here's the teaching lesson. If it won't fit on your calendar when you just try to move it there, like it just won't fit, it's not going to fit in your life either if you just let it happen. And then we steal. And when we are unorganized about our time blocking, we steal from our families. That's what happens. That's why, Charles, the business owner, first in, last to leave, in there on the weekends, picking up extra time. They're not stealing from anybody except spouse and children. And that is the curse of entrepreneurship. And that's the problem that Ben is trying to help you solve for.
And the big message, right, is learning that lesson at the earliest stage, right? No matter, I'm embarrassed when I think about all the weekends and nights and all of what strikes me, Ben, is I almost feel like I fell into it by accident. I mean, aside from all the mentorship and advice and all the great ways you've influenced me. But I do sometimes I leave, I'm amazed at how amazing our team is, and like how, and I do feel guilty, right? But I am also at every moment thinking about, planning toward, the next evolution, and spending time. But so for the business owners out there, the entrepreneurs that are stuck in this process, if you were evaluating, hey, Charles or entrepreneur, when you're blocking that time or when you're thinking about these things, how do you differentiate between your calendar with the technical, tasks of performing services and products versus the strategic and getting there? And like the caveat being like, we live and breathe from traction in our strategic planning, and that's made a big difference for us. But how, as an entrepreneur, could you, because they're going to be too busy, or like me, I was at the office, but ironically on weekends it was creating forums to create more bandwidth, right? But
Of course. Well, first of all, accept the notion that this is the life we have chosen.
right.
It is oftentimes chaotic. We could have chosen to be employees, show up at set time, go home when set time is over. Fair. And the world needs employees. We need employees, but that's just not us. So we have accepted that this can sometimes be chaotic. Where we are trying to get entrepreneurs and business owners, in particular, is to value that EOS, traction, planning, deep thinking time just as highly as anything you would describe as technical. I have news for you. You're not the best in the world at any of that. There is someone in the world, including in my case, legal brief writing in a very particular niche, ERISA, long-term disability. Right? I'm good at that. I'm really good. And for the longest time, Charles, I thought, like, I have to do all of that stuff because nobody could do it as good as I could, which is pure BS. I mean, it's just wrong. So for all of the technical things that we business owners do, there are people who are better at it than we are. And we're in 2024. It's a worldwide economy. So we've got in the law firm about 20 people under roof, and 5 of them are in the Philippines. They work full-time for us in the Philippines, not just doing the most boring of task work, working on our social media. My son and I each have our own executive assistant, like a full-time executive assistant who Melissa probably dealt with Claire, right? To get this thing, get this done. And think about what we're doing there. So we've got folks in the Philippines who are making more money working for us than they could in their local economy. And they get to work with some pretty cool guys. And, we're not the coolest, but we're cool. And there's other great business owners and CEOs all over the United States and Europe that they never would come in contact with. So it's a win-win. It's capitalism, because in capitalism, each side thinks they got the better side of the deal. So back to our point, that business owner, like for that a guy or gal, Charles, that thinking time that you described, that creativity thinking thing, before we went live, you were showing me some new stuff that your firm is doing. Accept that that's the most valuable thing you can do. And every single bit of technical stuff, honestly, you're good at it, I'm sure. I'm good at a lot of it, but we're not the best. And so, and it's win-win. When I find somebody else who's good at it and loves doing it, something technical, they've won, I won. We each think we got it better in a deal. And I've freed up some more time for thinking and delegation, right? Which is really what I think, at the end of the day, the biz owner, the perfectly placed biz owner is thinking and delegating, thinking and delegating, thinking and delegating. Because without you, there are no jobs. Without you, there are no taxes paid, right? Without you, there are no customers getting great service or products.
What's striking to me too, Ben, is I find if as an entrepreneur, you're committing yourself to that, and now you're building the rails and the infrastructure, you're building the teams and organizational charts, even if you're 3 people, and your strategic planning. What I find is, as a founder, having that opportunity, those moments, and realizing, okay, someone else will prepare X or provide Y. it forces you to dig down even deeper beyond the superficial. What are we delivering? And it really helps a business transcend to the next level, right? What's that special relationship with the customers, and the more I do it, right, the more people, to the outer world, it may look like marketing but you can only get there when you get to the core of what you're giving your clients, the
Yes.
transformation. And I think that's a big key.
It is. And so one of the things that I talk about in the book is how do you build a team? How do you empower a team? So here's a strategy. So anyone, just to say in the professional services, anything where clients may be calling you, the founder, to ask you a question, but really if your team knew enough to answer the question, that would make your life better and the client would get the answer faster probably. So how do you do that? So a thing I've been doing for years is when I'm having a client call, either a consult, sometimes somebody might be mad at us. It's rare, but it happens. Is I get them in, I put them on speakerphone, and my team is here listening in. So they're learning, Charles, what does Ben say the answer is? All right. How does Ben handle the call? And then when the call is over, we do a quick debrief where I teach them the why behind the answers I just gave. And so I raise up my team so that they can handle the next call that comes in. And then we position, and this is a law firm, right? But clients hardly ever talk to me. My non-lawyer team is who they have a great relationship with because they know that my non-lawyer team is very, very well trained. And frankly, those rare times when someone needs to talk to me, what do they hear? They hear the same thing my team just told them 3 times anyway. But sometimes they need a little reassurance. So I think it's important, like if someone is coming to work for you, either we're trading, hey, I'm going to pay you $1, you're going to do the work, pay you $1, do the work. People get burned out doing that stuff. But if you come to work for me, I want you to grow. Like Brian and I built a place where people will thrive. The owners thrive, the team thrives. If the owners and the team are thriving, the clients will be well served. The customers will be well served, no matter what business you're in. So it's kind of a different purpose, right, for a business. Like I'm at our law firm, we're so focused on improving the lives of our team by helping them learn skills, be exposed to education, and be exposed to experiences that they probably wouldn't have in a different law firm run by a traditional, the lawyer has to do everything thing. And the last thing I'll say on this, you may have a question about, is it's a lot about letting go of the vine, right? It's ego. Like our ego gets in the way. Nobody can do this as good as I can. Or if I let you do it, Charles, I'm going to have to redo it. Or Charles, if I'm going to have you do it, I'm just going to take too much time to teach you how to do it. So why don't I just stay in on Saturday and create all those forms? Is that helpful?
And well, I mean, even today, I mean, we've had these conversations. In fact, one of our team members, we had our quarterly meeting yesterday. It was a little late. And, some of the conversations were like, we have amazing team here. And you don't want to move someone out of a position because it's functioning so well, but also there's the opportunity in the next level to elevate them. And then on a personal level, I'm involved in all our systems and processes, but I even challenge myself when we have clients onboarding and we're having these meetings. I'm like, is my time, I believe it's the connection with the client, which is critical. But then as an entrepreneur, I'm also thinking about how could I even make that experience better without me? And I haven't figured that out because of probably ego and just, but it's something I'm always struggling with. But I have found, Ben, because it all connects with culture, and the more you build up that team, your culture lights up. My time, inadvertent or unintentionally, I guess, just from strategic planning and focusing on culture and team, what I do at my time completely shifted. I never thought I'd be in my life where I don't really, I'm focusing on the strategic growth of the company and our client initiatives. So I wish I had just figured this out 20 years ago, Ben.
Well, okay, look, so Yes, we all say that, but there's a reason that we went through the 20 years ago. Like, so where we are today is a product of decisions and experiences we've
Right.
had. And I think that's an important point, because for those who are listening to this podcast, where you will be in 3 and 5 and 10 and 15 years, it will be a product of the decisions you make and the actions you take from now forward. So, and we all struggle with that. Like, I don't want anyone to listen to this and think that, oh, Ben Glass, his life is all perfect. It is messy. 9 kids, 7 grandkids, multiple businesses, like, just by definition, like, that's messy. Most people will never work on any of this, even if they are a business owner, Charles, right? They became a business owner because they're good at dog grooming or printing or being a lawyer. Like, by default, they became a business owner because they didn't want to work for somebody else. But they didn't really become a business owner because they don't work on the things that you and I are talking about on this call and the things that you talk about to your clients. See, the value add to your legal clients, you and I were talking about this beforehand. I've always admired this about you. Like, lots of lawyers could provide services that help someone franchise their cool idea. That's kind of ubiquitous all over the place. You have always added the business mindset, the coaching, the marketing stuff that most lawyers in these big law firms, they don't even have a clue about. Like, they have no idea about that. And so you've taken something that could have been commoditized. I'll help you franchise your thing, right? And you have this huge value add because you thought about it. And most business owners, sadly, well, it's okay. Look, if you decide you just want to run a business and be the top employee of have a cool job, that's fine. By deliberate choice, that's fine. But if you want to grow, if you want to have something you can sell, or maybe one day you can bring to Charles and go, I have this idea, to franchise it, you can't be the one doing all the technical stuff. You just can't be. And so you have to push yourself. You have to get uncomfortable, because, like, when you do some of the strategies that are in the book, like, you're going to get pushback from the team. You may get pushback from clients and customers. If you've always given people access to you, and now you say, Ben Glass says no unplanned inbound phone calls, like, someone's going to probably be upset. Okay, but you got to get through the uncomfortableness of that if you want to create something that you actually could bring to Charles and have him help you franchise it.
Ben, the book's it's coming out in August.
August 13 it'll be released on Amazon. Yep. And
Guys,
it's a 4th edition. So if you go, they'll sell you the 3rd edition, but it won't be the right edition.
No, we want to wait. I think it was like the 1st or 2nd week of August.
Yep.
I mean, like, this book, I mean, especially these are the types of books I love when I'm isolated on a plane and no one can bother me and I could sit there and read it, or during the summer. And yeah, guys, I mean, if you don't know Dan Kennedy, you'll want to know him. And if you don't know Ben Glass, I Ben's influenced my life so much. Definitely learn more about Ben Glass. Wait a couple of weeks, or this podcast will be out by then. It won't be before. And if you reach out, we're gonna buy at least 10 copies. So if you put a comment, at least for the first 10 people, glad to send you a copy of the book. Ben, I can't thank you enough. I think I was looking forward to this more, to the conversation with you before we got started. And then, like everything else, I'm always blown away when we're having these conversations.
It's fun to catch up with you, and it's fun to let other people, like, listen in as two friends who have now grown older in the business of law together, just kind of reconnect and share some of these ideas. The sad part remains, Charles, that people can get through law school and just never, ever be introduced to the concept of creativity, of working outside the box. You have successfully done that. I think I've done a pretty good job of it. And for the most part, my life is really, really good. I would say when I had my cardiac surgery back in March, you talk about your team. So, I got to meet with the surgeon like 20 minutes, but I met with her team a lot prior to the surgery. And then post-op, like the surgeon, tiny bit, team a lot. So, she's empowered her team. I trusted them. They did a great job. And that's really what we're trying to build in our businesses. That's how We entrepreneurs, that's how you entrepreneurs who are listening to this will move the world. You are the engine that runs the world. Don't let anybody ever tell you about that. You know, I don't want to go political, but it doesn't matter who's in the White House. It matters like who's in your house, who are you surrounding yourself with, right? So my tax strategy has always been just go make more money. Like there's so many things out there that confuse me. Let's go get another case. Let's go help another, in my case, disabled or injured person. In your case, another guy or gal that's got an idea that needs to be shared with the world, which is what you do.
Yeah, and and look, Ben, we have clients. They started with 3 people, and then now they're 300. And everything you're talking about, all the disciplines, they're all here. So Ben, I appreciate it, and look forward to catching up some more. Thanks,
Been fun.
Ben.